again. We are having the Pledge of Allegiance delivered this evening by the Arrow of Light, Den number 13, Pack 55, out of Southwest Christian Church. Following the Pledge of Allegiance, they will then recite the Scout Oath and Law for us.
Scout attention. Citizens attention. And salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Scout oath. And salute. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country and to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. In the Scout law.
Scout.
Scout.
Okay, Scout law, you're right.
A scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent.
Good job.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Clerk, do we have a quorum?
We do have a quorum.
All right, excellent. First thing that we have on tonight's agenda is the approval of our council meeting minutes from September 13th of 2021. If you'll flip to the minutes and review those, please. Mr. Jones, did you indicate that there was one additional correction inside the minutes that we need to?
Actually, there are two, but they're literally back to back. On page number 7 of the minutes, will be in the section of adjournment. What was presented to council, and I caught the mistake this morning, says motion to adjourn on September 13, 2001. That's pretty ambitious. So anyway, I've corrected it to now read 2021, and then following that, the word meeting. So it now reads September 13, 2021, meeting passed.
can't go to sleep while we're reading minutes.
So what they're doing right now is they're reading over the minutes from our last meeting, and they're making sure that what we have written down, that they said, they really said, and that all the information that we talked about is in these minutes. So that's why they're reviewing it before they actually vote on it. All right, if I can get a motion to approve the minutes, please.
A motion to approve.
All right, Cynthia has the first.
Second.
Tom has the second. All in favor? All right, unanimous, thank you. Okay, so the first item under new business is a discussion on our fiscal year 2022 personnel budget. This discussion is just going to be about personnel and the general priorities of town hall. This is not the budget in totality. This is, like I said, just the personnel part of it. But this is by far the biggest driver of our budget is our people, at least on the expenses side. So what we are looking at doing is we're really looking at two main things for the 2022 budget this year. We want to add a public work position, a part-time public works position that will do various public work tasks. That is budgeted for about 20 hours. It's budgeted for 20 hours. And then the source of funds for that is we're going to reallocate money that's currently in the budget from the roadside trimming and the right-of-way trimming, and then the town hall park and pavilion maintenance. So it's roughly about $20,000 that's already in the budget, so we're not adding more money to the budget, we're reallocating it. And instead of contracting with Arbor Valley to do the right-of-way plus the town hall parking grounds, we're going to actually hire an individual to do that. And our thought within town hall is that the position would have 5-hour increments, basically. 5 hours of roadside trimming a week, 5 hours of town hall maintenance a week, 5 hours of a specific project, say the interior refresh, and then 5 hours of roadside repair. And that way we know exactly what the individual is going to be working on, and it gives us a lot of flexibility about doing the extra things in town that we need to have done that mayor and council, because we're all volunteer staff, are unable to get to or unable to complete. The second big thing for the 2022 budget is I would like to upgrade the town clerk position to a town administrator position. Insofar as the duties, I don't want to change the mayor council structure of government that requires a charter change, but for the position itself, what Mr. Jones does is more like an administrator, and we knew that, we thought we knew that going into it. The hiring process, the interview process, and the onboarding process has just shown what he does is so much more than a clerk. Typically, a clerk handles just the minutes, just the agenda, just the coordination around our meetings, but here, you do everything. You know, you do everything from cleaning the mops to sweeping the floors to doing the minutes and agenda and the technical stuff that we do. So one of the another of the recommendations is to upgrade that from the current position of roughly $43,000 to a salary position of between $48,000 to $55,000 a year. So it would be capped at $55,000 a year, and that is in line with the wage and salary survey for city managers / town clerks / city clerks with a population of under 1,000. So I'm making sure, so the 48 to 55 number that we're throwing out for salary and wages is supported by what other similar sized municipalities are paying. Another thing that we would like to do with the budget is formalize Angie Moore's position. If you guys will recall, she actually interviewed for the town clerk position, but during the interview, she was so energetic, we wanted to make sure that we capture that, and we have brought her on to work on promoting the community center. So far, she has added 4 or 5 additional classes. Our Facebook engagement is just spiking. We're over 1,000% in engagements over this time last month, or whatever time period she showed you. She has brought in 3 or 4 new classes, promoting the heck out of the center. Floyd, is there anything you want to speak on?
There's nothing more I can really say than what you've said, other than she has been a real asset to your town. Absolutely. You know, she's full of energy, and she walks in with more ideas than I've ever heard anybody have ideas. It's really pretty awesome to have. So I think you really have a good person on your team with her.
Yep. And the good thing about her income source and where her money comes from is we can pull her money from the community center revenue. So once again, we don't have to create an additional revenue. We don't have to add an expense we have it paid for through revenue. And the good thing that I really like about this budget is the only increase we're going to have is going to be the bump in salary for the clerk to administrative position. Everything else is contained within money that's already in the budget.
Have you figured the cost of a lawnmower, a blower, a weed whacker?
I have not done that. I have not done that yet because I wanted to make sure in a public setting that you guys were okay with proceeding with adding a public works individual. And once you guys indicate that to me, and I understand I'm not asking for final approval on the budget, just that you guys agree with heading towards a public works person, then I can go back and start getting equipment price, and then I'll come back with you guys and say, this is how much we're spending to equip this position. Now, my thought had been to do a special, not a special purchase, but take the money out of our savings, basically out of our general fund, to pay for the equipment and make that a one-time purchase. I don't know where we would charge that on the budget. That would be a Dina and maybe a Brad question. But it would be a one-time purchase out of our out of the money that we have saved to purchase the equipment. And also a place to store it if we can't fit it into the storage container that we've got out here already. That would be my first direction I'd like to go in, is to clean out the container and store it in there.
Right now, what do we have in the container?
A little,
Christmas decorations.
yeah, Christmas decorations, a little bit of junk, some unused furniture.
A lot of wood.
A lot of wood, yeah.
A big bonfire.
We could do that.
Yeah, you can put it, you can fit a lot of stuff in that
Mm-hmm.
container, a lot.
And if it is full, if it did end up being full, or I just get another one and stack it behind it, and just, have another one,
Or just clean it out.
or just clean it out.
I think the idea of a public works person that's definitely the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
We need that bad, but I can think of really talking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Little things.
Yeah.
Another thing that I would like to do, and this is, and we're going to have a little bit of time to back into this, if we find the right person, and if everything falls out like it could, we could be set up with this individual for them to take over the garbage collection when the GFL contract runs out in May. And it would be very possible for the public works guy, gal, whoever, pardon?
Right away cutting?
No, garbage collection.
I know, but.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Up front, that's,
Yeah,
that's,
That'd be-
that's baseline.
Mm-hmm,
that would basically,
yeah, you're talking about for the garbage
no,
RFP?
just for the right away cutting and maintaining. And
Mhm.
if somebody were to, the public works person were to take that on, that would,
Oh, yeah.
That, like I said, that would baseline a part-time position,
Mm-hmm.
and pay for it.
Right, and as we look to grow the position, I think that they could eventually take over garbage collection as well.
yeah.
And then that would be another 13,000 that they could do. We would have to do some thinking about the equipment for garbage collection. But I think if he only has to do one area a day, let's just say he does Williams Circle, and he does that on Monday, and then he does downtown on Tuesday, he's not going to need a whole big garbage truck. They could very easily do it by hand and then bring it down here to a large container that gets dumped once a week. And then while we're paying for it is the big old dumpster. So that's something to think about as we get into April and May. because I want to say the contract runs out in May, or is it June? May or June is when we re-sign. So we'd have a couple months to decide go or no-go on that.
On that, having to do garbage, 2 or 3 locations a week, we need to think that through, because their economies of scale involved, and
Okay.
there are problems with having a big dumpster full of garbage for a week, particularly in the summertime. I mean, you know.
Yes. Oh, yeah, no, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
But that's a good idea, I think we can add a lot of things. I'm thinking along the lines of things we aren't doing now.
Right.
You know,
Well, just little things around here and
Yeah. And once we get into the mayor's minutes and we talk about some of the different projects that are out there, there's probably 5 to 10 hours a week of project work for at least the next 6 months to a year that would be, that could be done.
you know, putting up Christmas, taking down Christmas, putting up signs, taking down signs,
Yep.
cleaning signs.
Updating the interior, exterior, I mean, there's just all sorts of things that can be done. Changing that radar sign battery.
yeah. Good. Sounds good to me.
Okay. So right now, we have got Angie working 5 hours a week. I think as we go into 2022, we could probably bump that up a little bit. 5 hours a week, we've got her working because she's filling in some of hours that we brought in while Dina was gone. But I think it might not be a bad idea to look at bumping her hours, especially if she's paid out of the community center for doing the classes.
And she bring the classes in.
And she's bringing the classes in, so any increase in hours will be paid for through the extra classes.
Is she wanting more hours? Is she opening more hours?
Yes, she is. And honestly, what it is I think that the extra hours just reflect what she's truly doing. I mean, she honestly loves this kind of work. She's a natural at it. It's one of those situations where if you love your job, you don't work a day in your life. She ain't working a day in her life because she loves what she's doing.
Sounds good.
And honestly, I would like to give her the money that she's earning by doing all the stuff that she's doing with us.
Could she do it out of the library?
Absolutely.
Could we incorporate that duty into the librarian's duty, and then move the current librarian into helping the clerk?
We could, but Randy she's busy enough as she is, and she hasn't expressed any interest in wanting to transition into the administrative roles.
I'm just thinking of instead of,
Mhm.
because this girl was at the library and doing what she's doing now, but also sitting at that library seat, because the traffic in there is not that great.
Mhm. So you want her to actually spend some time in the library? Give it another.
Just let her be the librarian and do the coordinator job as she's sitting there being the librarian. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I mean, just look at it.
And coordinate the events out of the library.
Coordinate events out of the library. The library just would be her office with books.
Mhm. I can certainly talk with her and,
If she wants the hour.
yeah, talk with her and Brandy and see what Brandy wants to do too, because I know that she is, now that we've got Floyd in place and the training is there and getting complete, we have gone back to where she's up there 2 days a week and just 1 day here, like she was originally. So we're going to be seeing more open time and sitting time up there.
I just see it as a way we could use idle time to give her more hours, and,
Mhm.
she wouldn't necessarily have to do much as a librarian.
Right, yeah. Well, and two, I think that her promoting the library as well as the community center is certainly within her ability and capabilities. We've just been focusing on the community center right now. Just to
promote the library more, like a week or something.
But yeah, we could easily add an extra day to the library. in addition to.
Think about doing that, because like I said,
Okay.
if she's as hard charging as she seems to be, and she wants some more hours, you want her to be hard charging somewhere else.
Right, absolutely. All right. Any other questions on the salary proposals? What I'd like to do is we'll take this and incorporate it into the broader budget, and then, let's see, the numbers that we're going to be pulling from. Oh, and just to be clear, this does not include any kind of benefits or any kind of flexible benefits. These numbers on here, for the top part, are just strictly salary. As far as health insurance, we continue to run into the same issue of not having enough full-time people to qualify for even the barest health insurance, preventive insurance that's out there. It is so frustrating to try to find good benefits for staff, and I'm sorry, it's very frustrating to be told that we don't qualify because we don't have enough people.
That's the reality of our size.
Yep.
One more comment, I don't want to drag all this out, but that $55,000 for the town clerk,
Mm-hmm.
have you got in your thinking for the budget, the reality that this year's 55 is going to be next year's 70, 75? Because it's, inflation's here.
Yes and no. The 55 cap is about where towns of this size, well, actually a little bit bigger than our town is, that is the cap at it. What we would start at is 48, and then the cap would be 55.
I understand. I'm just saying that cap of 55 may be 80 this next year. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Everything's going to move up.
Right.
Just think about it.
Yeah.
That's all. Just keep it in the back of your mind, because if we plan for no inflation, no expansion,
Right.
we're going to have what are we going to come in here and say, we got to come up with 25 grand.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Okay. All right, so if you guys are okay with it, I'll go ahead and continue going in this direction, get you guys some final budget numbers. October, November, I would like, Floyd, how confident do you think we are in getting a draft budget to them in November?
I think we're going to be pretty okay with getting a draft number out there.
You
So
think you know? Okay, so.
I think so. I think so.
So I think what we'll try to do is get a draft budget together for your review in November. We'll have November and December to review it, and then we will pass to approve it in January. And then that'll give each of us, give us 2 months, then we approve it in January. And then at the same time, I'll also go back and look at the equipment, get the equipment costs, and then get you guys some numbers on that. Do I have any comments or questions from public on the budget process or anything?
Very good.
It's not a budget, but how many people are now working full and part-time?
So Mr. Jones is the only full-time individual. We've got our librarian, we've got a deputy clerk, and then we've got the community center coordinator.
So there's 3 part-time.
Yes, ma'am, 3 part-time. And the librarian and deputy clerk get 18 hours a week.
Well, I don't care. I'm just curious about the number because I was having trouble keeping up with it.
Right, yes, ma'am. And I'll give you a copy of this if you'd like for me to.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? That doesn't take any action, no votes. All right, so the next thing we have on the agenda is our pine straw bids. Hopefully, with the public works individual, other than the price of the pine straw, which will be the last time we have to discuss bidding out getting pine straw, we reached out to our normal vendors. We got 2 out of the 3 bids, and I just wanted to bring it to for council's approval. And what I think we would do, Brad, do we have to have 3 bids for a routine maintenance issue, or do you think 2 would suffice?
2 would suffice.
2 would suffice, okay. So we do have two bids in front of us. Breaking Ground is at $2,007.50. And then Arbor Valley has come back with an estimate for $2,190. I think we've had both companies do it in the past, so.
Does that include spreading as well?
Yes. Mhm. So council, it's whichever.
How many bales do we have?
So Arbor Valley has 365, and then Breaking Ground, they both have 365. Breaking Ground has 550, and Arbor Valley is at 6.
I think it was the less expensive one.
All right. So do you want to make
Breaking Ground. I make a motion to go with Breaking Ground.
All right. So we have a motion on the floor.
I second.
All right. So Elizabeth has the first. I'm sorry, I got to write this down. Cynthia had the second. All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. All right. So the next item is the magazine advertisement that I called you guys about last week. Because we have the 150th coming up, we have a number of events that we're going to be doing here at the Park and Pavilion. And one of the things that I'd like to do for that is to get a full-page advertisement in the New Coweta magazine. Now, because a full-page advertisement tends to be more expensive, I have gone after more than just the advertisement. In addition to the advertisement, they are working on the logo for us for the 150th, and then they're also going to give us the elements so that when we have the advertisement, we're going to be able to swap out the pictures and the text and then use that to promote things here in the community center. So the advertisement is going to have our rough 150th schedule right here with a couple of pictures and then the logo. But what we'll do is we'll pull that text off and then put in, say, the dog obedience classes. And we'll have a little picture of the class in session here, and then we can use that to promote things that are going on in town and around town. So for the $900 that it's going to cost for the full-page advertisement, we're going to get additional uses and benefits from the advertisement. In addition to, in the magazine, the advertisement is going to face the article that they are doing on the town. Thank you all so much.
Thank
We
you for
appreciate it.
coming.
Come back
Thanks
and
for
see
having
us.
us. Yeah.
Bye.
And good luck on your community citizenship in the community back.
Yes.
Yes.
I vote for you. Thank y'all. But what that'll do is it will front the articles and the stories that they are doing on this. So it'll just be a nice, complete, total piece of promotion, and will really represent the town well.
Sounds good.
I think it's for 150 years, yeah.
Yeah, right?
I think
Right.
150 years deserved.
Thank you. So if I can get a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All right, Elizabeth has the first, Cynthia has the second. All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. The next item is actually this is going to cover a couple of different alcohol boards. So Dollar General has expressed an interest in selling alcohol. From the town's benefit, we get excise tax on it, we get additional sales tax revenue, and I'm open to it. However, our current alcohol ordinance, and Brad, correct me if I'm wrong, calls for an individual to do a background check and to be the signatory for their alcohol license. Dollar General, being a nationwide entity, cannot guarantee that the person that signs off on it will be the person that's there, for 6 months or a year, whatever. So.
Sorta.
Sorta? Okay.
Sorta.
Okay. Please correct me.
All right, the requirement that's in the ordinance, which is not unlike a lot of ordinances, depending on where you are with residency requirements. All right, so what you got is that most ordinances provide that if the licensee is not a resident of the town or a resident of the county or a resident of the state, that there has to be a licensed representative who is a manager in the business. So let's assume that Blueco creates a corporation. Here we've got a national corporation, creates a corporation, but he's here and he's working the business and he lives in the town, then he's clear, all right? But if he lives in Nashville, which is where Dollar General is, then, and he's an officer there, but he's not a resident of the town or a manager of the business, then he has to have a licensed representative who is a manager of the business, on premise, most of the time, and is a resident of the town. Okay. Now, what we have learned in a lot of locations now, particularly for package sales, all right, now, most places have expanded it to say they've got to be a resident of the county if they're a licensed representative for on-premise sales. But for package sales, some will say of the county, some will say of the state. Now, what we've run into is the fact that a lot of these people don't live in Cayuga County. They live in Henry County, all right? So to limit their residency requirement to Cayuga County then decreases the pool, all right? And so a lot of people have changed their ordinances to simply say the licensed representative has to be a resident of the state. All right, now your ordinance is very clear that whether it's on-premise consumption or package sale, that the licensee has to be a resident of the town, and if the licensee is not a resident of the town, that the licensed representative has to be a resident of the town. And so Dollar General can't qualify for that because I think, from what I recall 6 months ago, their manager here at the store lives in Henry County, or someplace over there, Clayton County, Henry County. So the question is, do you want to change that particular requirement? Now, the other requirements that you have are generally the same requirements. They've got to do background checks, okay? Even the licensee, the officer in Nashville has to do a background check, which is okay, but at the same time, because you've got in your ordinance that they can't have been convicted of any crimes with regard to moral turpitude, any felonies, or they can't have violated any alcohol requirements of the state or the federal government. All right, so that's normal. Now, the one thing that your ordinance requires also that the mayor mentioned is fingerprinting. All right, and so creates an issue. If you still want to keep the fingerprinting can only be done under your ordinance by the Cayuga County Sheriff's Department. So if this licensee at Dollar General's in Nashville, they would have to come to Newnan to get fingerprinted before they went back. Most ordinances, because of the way things have gone on with the computer systems and being able to check backgrounds, have eliminated the fingerprinting. Now, some of the larger, City of Atlanta still requires it. Some others still require it. Newnan does not require fingerprinting on any of this. So again, keep in mind that y'all went through a major ordinance revisions on all of your stuff back in 2006, and some of this stuff was anticipating stuff, as we talked before, that didn't happen. So if council wants, we can eliminate and dress up the licensee residential requirements. We can also dress up and eliminate the fingerprinting requirement if you want to do that. Now, the rest of the requirements, I don't know if Dollar General can comply or not. And this is something else that, as I mentioned to the mayor, that y'all might want to discuss, is that for certain alcohol sales, there's distances from residential, and there's some other things in the way you measure And so this was kind of the confusing thing with Dina, was that not only was it that she said that the lady just said, we can't comply with any of your ordinance. All right, well, let me tell you what, most Dollar Generals, or I know of no Dollar General in the state of Georgia that has alcohol.
Right.
All right. What is happening is, I know that Dollar General has been reaching out to various jurisdictions, just as they did here, and it's probably the same lady, just as they did here, to get copies of all of the alcohol licensing ordinances. And I think the reason is, as we know, they're trying to expand their offerings, and they're talking about getting into produce, and they're talking about doing some of these other things. And I think what they're doing is they're considering expanding it to offer beer and wine.
I'm sure.
That's what I think is happening, because, you know, I've, you know, when all this stuff was coming up, and I rechecked a couple of weeks ago, is that none of the Dollar Generals for any jurisdictions I'm aware of have actually filed an application. All right, so I think the confusing thing with this particular lady was that Dina said, well, you know, you'd have to get a variance to the application, and that's what kept talking about, getting a variance. Well, it's not a variance, it's got to be a change in the statute. But I don't know that, you know, without getting surveys and doing all that other kind of stuff, under your ordinance, I'm not sure they could comply or not until you got that to find out, because I know that Dollar General, the door faces 54, but there's a residential structure that's right behind it. All right, so I don't know. I think your ordinance says, I'd have to go back and look, includes residences within 300 feet. So the question is, if you come from the front door and measure down, I don't know if it's 300 feet or not. So, but there are potentially several issues with that location that you kind of need to look into. And the question is, you know, I would say that if you're going to encourage anything, and from an alcohol standpoint, how many locations have you got that sell? 3?
Well, see, and that's one thing, council, we're going to have to talk about and decide, and we may need a work session for this, is we need to decide the shape of our package sale ordinance if the referendum passes.
On distilled spirits, right.
Distilled spirits,
Right.
yes.
But you also will have to change that.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Because if somebody opens a package distilled spirit store, they're not going to be a resident of the town.
Right.
Because the dollars that you get there just, you know.
Certainly not a resident of town.
Right.
So,
Yeah, so it sounds like we've got a number of things to work on within the alcohol ordinance. And I guess the best course of action is just talk about it generally with council, and then get with you and staff, and we'll hammer one out and bring back for consideration. Or?
Well, I think that the easier thing to do would be for me just to go through the ordinance as I have, and point out these things that you may or may not want to change, but at least are an impediment to you getting an application from somebody. In other words, you're not going to get one from Dollar General for package sales because they know they can't comply with having that a licensed rep, a licensee or the licensed rep being a resident. Or do they want to commit to send one of their officers from Nashville down to get fingerprinted? And it may be, I don't know, you know, how much alcohol sales you would get.
My sense is a lot of this is sort of quasi laws against just trying to impede it, period. And I think we ought to look at it from the standpoint of let's not impede it, let's control it, but let's don't impede it.
Correct.
I mean, why in the world? I mean, some of the stuff you look at it now and you think, this is not 1950.
Well, and I'll say for some of our folks, if people were making, when all this stuff got started, they were making baby steps, you know, because before things passed and before everything else went on. And, you know, here in 2021, we're not the way we were in 1994, when people couldn't get referendums passed. And so when they finally got them passed, you know, they had made it more restrictive to try and keep it down. But then, of course, over the years, a lot of jurisdictions have eliminated some of those impediments that way. And of course, again, you're beginning to experience some interest here, and I think I agree with you. It's time to go through and eliminate those impediments.
I don't want to make this the six-pack pickup capital of the state, but at the same token, I don't want to impede somebody's ability to make a living.
You know, the only thing that the state went back and changed their rules, and the only things that they do is they set distance requirements from schools, church schools, alcohol rehabilitation centers, and housing authority units. Everything else is left up to the local jurisdiction now. Now that's changed over the years because the state had all this stuff listed at one time.
For the same reason.
For the same reason, yeah, and they've eliminated it. So, but those are the only three that they now. Now, of course, a lot of people are including churches back in there. You know, it's got to be 300 feet from a church for a package sale. Newnan eliminated its on-premise consumption from residential, but in this new ordinance that we put together for distilled spirits package sales, because of the connection between, or the proximity between a commercial zone property and these residential properties along some of the major thoroughfares, they put a 300-foot requirement in there for the distilled package. So, I mean, there are people still putting in, and that's because some people in some areas don't want that package store near to them, and they voice that concern. But let me go through, and you know, I've got yellow stickies everywhere that got some of those issues. Let me just put them in a list for you and tell you what I think.
Can we also get your recommendations, probably based off of what Newnan has done as far as the distilled spirits package sales and setting up the inventory amounts, the number of locations, and some of those other requirements?
Yeah, I can send you a copy of the ordinance.
Yeah, we're not gonna have as many as Newnan though,
Oh,
obviously, right?
no,
I mean,
two. Two is kind of what I had in mind.
two, you think?
Well, this is,
We've had 3 or 4 people.
I think I explained it this way. Of course, the market, okay, you've got everybody voting this time for the most part. Sonoy's voting, county's voting, Sharpsburg's voting, and Newnan's voting. All right, and so I was involved in 2 different things with it, and everybody was looking at the numbers, and they were trying to base the number of stores on a population. Okay, so anywhere from $20,000, 20,000 residents per store, or up to 40,000 residents per store. And of course, the thing we got into is where are these going to be located? They're going to be located in the city, the county, and this sort of stuff. So the city and the county both started out at 4, and then they went down to 3, because we discovered that if you look, if you put a package store, unless somebody's shopping in Newnan, if I live in Arnco, I'm going to Whitesburg.
Yeah.
All right, if I live in the Madras area, or, well, not necessarily Madras, but Canongate, I'm probably going to drive to Fairville or over to Peachtree City. And so the point we were trying to make, okay, you're looking at 6, maybe 2, 8, 10 more stores for 150,000 people, but you've already got a store in Luthersville, you got a store at Line Creek, you've got a store at Whitesburg, you've got a store at Palmetto, you got 2 in Granville. And I said, so what you have to do is you have to look at your numbers around there. You know, that's not to say if I'm in Arnco and I decide to go to Target and I go by the liquor store, I'm not going to stop. I mean, I'm not, you know. But in other words, I think that with what we're going to see is that there's going to be some people are going to jockey for positions because I think everybody's ordinance is basically going to be the same, and you can only charge $5,000. That's in state law for the license. Now, if you set the inventories differently, where the county in Newnham went to essentially, it's 5,000 display, 2,500, all these numbers added up, but essentially it's a 7,500 square foot store is a minimum store. All right, we had some developers telling us, you ought to set it at 25,000 and only have one. Because that way, the numbers are, you'll get a better selection in the larger store than you will in 3 7,500 square foot stores. All right, but that's a large developer.
You're near an adulthood,
Yeah. So, and then 750,000, inventory bounce from Griffin's is 250,000, but they're already maxed out, because they've got the number of stores. Carrollton's was 500,000. And so, what everybody's or what city and county decided was, well, we'll set this at 7,500 because they were not wanting the smaller stores, like you got St. Simon's, which is a 3,500 store. Well, that's fine for St. Simon. They don't want, so it's a different regulation. But anyway, that's some of the thought process. So, along those lines, we'll see what happens.
Would you recommend that we have a work session to discuss this so that we have more time to devote to it and really?
For all of these issues, yeah, we can put them together.
Okay. Is that council, is that something you guys want to do so we can have more discussion, more robust discussion, more details?
I think so.
That's fine.
Okay.
I want to do it right.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe this evening we can look at schedules and kind of pick a Monday or so that works for everybody. Okay. Another thing that is coming up with an alcohol ordinance is we had a question from a lady, and Brad, this is going to be bumped over to you. What can or what do we do about alcohol delivery? Does the town of Sharpsburg, if a bottle of wine is delivered to a resident of Sharpsburg, do we have to allow that by ordinance?
No, nobody delivers alcohol.
Sure they do.
Yes, they do.
I get a case of
They do?
weed.
Yep. Okay, so
Well,
why don't
oh,
we-
I thought you meant like
Get a case of wine, we-
I think that's what she's asking about, third-party deliveries of alcohol.
Yeah, and that came up right after the legislature passed the law.
Mm-hmm, right.
All right, there's a difference of opinion because of the way the legislature passed the law.
Mm-hmm.
All right, a couple of jurisdictions have adopted, or Sonoy did, adopted an ordinance that basically regurgitated the law, but they wanted to know who was delivering. Okay. Now, what I understand is that if you do it correctly, okay, is that it's not, in other words, you call DoorDash, and DoorDash goes to the liquor store in Peachtree City and brings it and delivers it to you in Sharpsburg, that's a violation of the law.
right.
All right. It has to originate from the dispensary
Right.
where they control the movement of the alcohol, all right, to the delivery person.
Right.
The delivery person has to be registered with the state, I think, all right, that they are involved in alcohol, because when they deliver it to your house, they can't just leave it. They got to ring the doorbell, and if you don't come to the door, they take it back to the store.
You can,
They have to keep a record that the person they delivered it to was over 21.
yeah, you can sign something.
Yeah, you sign a paper that says you're over 21. So what I've heard is that, and plus it's got to be in so the whole scenario of it coming from Peachtree City is not, it has to originate and be delivered in the same jurisdiction.
Okay.
All right, so, in other words, here, you don't have a grocery store, you don't have a liquor store. So if the BP station, okay, wanted to get involved, they would have to train their people on how to do it, and the delivery would have to be made to Tom. It could not be made outside of the town limits. So there are several moving parts to the thing, and what some jurisdictions said was, that's just not something we want to regulate. We don't care what's going on out there. If people going to break the law, eventually the state's going to catch them. So.
Council, what is y'all's initial thoughts? I mean, do we even want to tackle alcohol delivery?
I mean, there's nothing wrong with adopting the little thing. It just says follow state law.
Right.
And you're not really involved in it.
Right.
So that way, if I think part of what Sonoy did, Drew was telling me there was something he was trying to kind of legitimize that had been going on before the law passed, and I'm not sure what it was. But of course, everybody got kind of into the pickup. There's two different things going on now. Under the pickup thing, where you now can pick up a couple of drinks, if you order them and you pick them up, and you show the necessary documentation that you're over 21, that has to be in sealed containers, and et cetera, as opposed to the delivery aspect of what's going on. So, anyway, it's just, I'll shoot you that little ordinance, you know. That's what I said. I showed it to Newton, and they said, you know, we.
Okay. And they just chose not to regulate or get involved with it.
It chose not to get involved. It's still regulated.
But they chose not to get involved.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a
if,
good idea for us.
I think,
You include that when we talk about the other.
yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. Another thing.
But she can't, the point is, she can't call the liquor store in Peachtree City and get DoorDash to deliver to us if she lives
That's right.
in the town of Sharpsburg.
Not gonna lie.
That's about, at this point. That's not to say it's not gonna change, but at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind
As
of our
Tom
question.
said, it's subject to change.
Yeah, that was kind of our question, is the origination, the pickup, and then the delivery. So that's it. Another thing that I'd like council to keep in mind and think about is eventually, once we have, restaurants and other things around us, is where do we want to allow people to walk around with drinks in their hand? Do we want to just do it in our downtown overlay? You know, say if we have an event here, and is that something that would be contained within the alcohol ordinance, or is that?
We can't, no, yes.
Okay, so that'd be something else for us to think about.
We can also drop the age to 18.
No,
Join the
Also-
army, go get killed in Iraq. You
we
sure
can't do
ought to
that.
give a
Isn't that
great
state
deal.
law?
What?
The drinking age? You just talking.
Tom wants to drop the drinking age to 18 in Sharpsburg. Can we do that?
No.
I was just gonna say, how much transportation money do you get from the feds?
Zero.
Yeah, so I mean, you remember when the feds made everybody raise the drinking age to 21, they tied it to the fact if you didn't do it, you wouldn't get any transportation dollars. And that's what it boiled
So
down
we,
to.
so we can,
We can just get 2 seats.
Yeah.
Spur on some
Question,
it's for some.
visitors.
can I have,
Yes,
why
ma'am.
this sudden interest in liquor?
I don't know.
So actually a couple of things. There was a new law passed by the state that allows us to put.
I knew that, and I
Knew
know
that
some
one.
reverend, yeah.
Yep. And then we've just had 3 or 4 questions that have come up over the last couple of months since we passed that, since we passed the referendum. And we're just kind of hitting them all
Yeah,
at once while we're on the topic.
Well, since y'all did this, now we did add, you remember, we did change the ordinance and we added caterers
Yeah.
after state law changed. And of course, there's several wine tastings, beer tasting. I mean, there are whole lots of state law changes that have occurred since 2006 that y'all don't permit.
Right.
Yep.
And other people are gradually beginning to allow.
Mhm.
Brew pubs,
Yep.
think through distilleries, so.
Yeah, and we're kind of covering 4 to 6 weeks worth of emails and various topics, just kind of all at once. Because if we're going to do a work session, I want council to have some time to be thinking about the different topics and subjects.
And I guess, Mayor, the thing to say is that I think I saw that Lion Creek is going to produce a centennial, whatever it is, beer
Yes, sir.
for the town, but Lion Creek could not locate within the town limits
Correct, yep.
under
yep.
your ordinance.
Right. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Do you see what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
mean, they're in Peachtree City, but they're producing something for you that you don't permit
Yeah.
within the town
It's been
limits.
distributed. So we worked around that. They're going to do it to LaGrange, and LaGrange is going to do it to Dixie Dogs, and Brian will actually.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, they could not be located.
Right.
Your ordinance wouldn't allow them to locate.
Yeah, we need to fix that. I mean, that's just,
I mean, but
I know.
They just have to fit all over shit with it. Yeah.
Let me ask one question real quick, since we're
Sure.
knee-deep in
Yeah.
this whole liquor thing. Let's say Dollar General was an Ingles, and they wanted to sell beer and wine, which a lot of them do. Would there have to be a representative from Ingles that is in whatever state they're from? Because I know someone that works at Ingles, she just had to go to the county that she works in, which is not Coweta, but she had to go and get fingerprinted, licensed, so she could actually sell it at the grocery store. How would that kind of be something we would have to do here for the?
well, that's what the ordinance requires.
Okay.
And that's why I say, some of them still require that. But this ordinance requires not only that person, but somebody, whoever the licensee is at the corporate level, to have to do it. So.
So I guess what we'll do is we'll just put our heads together, have a work session, schedule Brad to come up with his recommendations, and then we'll just be on it, and then have it come up hopefully for reading, December, January. I mean, we may could try to get a reading in November, but I kind of feel that's going to be
A little tight.
It's going to be really tight, I think, so. But we can still approve, so let's say that the package sale referendum passes in November. That does not take effect until we pass the ordinance
Correct.
locally.
Correct.
That's what I thought. Okay. All right, so we're not being pushed by the clock, by the November election clock?
No.
Okay, excellent.
Only by the competition.
Well, only by the competition.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Mayor, do you want to bring up Brian's request that he brought as well?
Yes, another thing that has come up is Brian wants to expand and start offering spirits by the drink at his location. And if you'll recall, we have 2 separate prices for alcohol, for spirit by the drink. $5,000 no.
We reduced it to 2,500,
Right.
didn't we?
But only if it was under 15. If it was under 15,000.
Under 15,000,
It was
yeah.
2,500. Over 15,000.
It's still
it goes back up
five.
to the 5. Brian wants to add spirits, and he would be at the $2,500 level. But his concern is just with the economic environment and staffing. He's unsure if he wants to make the investment and then have the economy tank or things get closed back down. So he has asked that we package, or he has made a proposal that we bundle basically his wine, liquor, and his spirit license all in one, and then issue that for 2022. I haven't talked with Brian yet. He had a conversation with Floyd. I don't know that I would recommend that we bundle all 3 of those together. If council wants to come in and give another break on the spirits, I guess we can. But as it stands now, it's $2,000 for beer and wine, and then it will be $2,500 for spirits?
No.
No.
No?
Beer and wine is only 300 or 500.
Oh, okay.
The spills, yeah.
Well, then I certainly would not make the recommendation to council.
Yeah,
There's only
it's,
$500 for beer and wine, and $2,500 for liquor.
Let's see.
I don't think that's unreasonable. I don't think that's unreasonable.
No. That's not a very,
Yeah, I mean, generally,
do we know what he paid?
He has a beer and wine license. He just wants.
I thought it was marketing.
Yeah, it's just, it would just be,
Full of facts.
y'all go ahead and I'll find.
Well, really what he wanted is to really have, beer, wine, alcohol, all rolled into one. Instead of paying, I think, the 2,500, he wants to pay just 2,000 straight up from the word go. And then at the end of the year, they'll pay 3% of the gross sales. That's what he was saying. And then for calendar year 23 to come back and reevaluate.
Well, now, of course, he's got to pay the 3% on his gross sales, and he's supposed to do it quarterly.
See, and
Right.
and that's in there anyway.
That's
And
in
I don't
there
know if I'd
anyway.
recommend going from quarterly to annually. I think it'd be
Quarterly would
easier.
be easier,
See, I think so too.
much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can pay the prices, you can pay the taper it off,
Mhm.
before they anyway.
Yep. Yeah, I would, because once you see it taper off, you know that, oh, okay, well, it's, yeah.
Pay less for that.
All right, what it is, it's already combined, okay? Your retail consumption, the malt beverage only, is $300.
Mhm.
Your retail package dealer is $300 malt beverage. Your retail consumption dealer wine only is $300. Your retail package dealer wine only is $300. All right. Your retail consumption dealer distilled spirits, malt beverages, and wine was $5,000, and you've reduced it to $2,500. So it's already bundled.
Yeah, okay, then,
So, I mean, the difference is if he's paying, you're not giving him credit. In other words, you're charging him $300 for malt beverage, $300 for wine, but there's no discount under your ordinance for both. Okay? And most of them don't. But because I tell you, Noonan's is, the way theirs is set up, is $250 for malt beverage only, $250 for wine only, and $500. So there's no discount. But he's paying $600, and if he adds the distilled spirits, he would only have to pay $1,900 more dollars
for the 2,500.
over what he's already paying to get it up to the 2,500.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm not, you already bundled it, so
Okay.
it's just 2,500.
So he's asking 2,000 instead of 2,500.
Yeah, he's looking for a discount of another $500. Well, that's up to y'all.
Let me have another conversation with Brian, and then we'll include it and bring it back to you and see. And this may be something that he's not ready to do until January anyway, so we don't have a huge push for it.
Tell them if you still work with them, the times get bad, the alcohol and beer goes.
Right.
Exactly.
And it has repeated, that's repeated yourself 20 times.
Over history, yeah.
Yeah, so he might want to get things in
Yeah,
place.
it will get it done in place.
He's the first of that.
All right, any other questions on alcohol? Floyd, was there anything else?
That's all I've got, sir.
Good. All right, any questions from council? Ms. Polly, anything else? Mr. Muller? Next item under old business is the resolution to approve our 2021 to 2041 comprehensive plan. Oh, okay. All right,
Did you look at Tom? Did you look at the comprehensive plan?
okay.
Do you have anything you want to change, or?
Well, I don't think you can change it at this stage, can you, without reopening the whole thing?
If it was, I mean, we could probably do a small edit here or there, but yeah, anything massive would.
I'll make a motion to accept.
All right, Elizabeth has the first. All right, 60 has the second. All right, all in favor? All right, opposed? All right, so show 3-1 on the comprehensive plan. Councilman Teagle opposed. All right, motion passes, thank you. Next item is going to be code enforcement. This is an update from the conversation last month on the 2 downtown businesses that are operating without occupational taxes. We continue to have conversations with both of them. Both businesses did do something in the intervening month. One of them is waiting on an additional inspection by Paul to say yes or no. And then the other one, we were still waiting on video production individuals to finish the application. And then, because it's going to be a change of use, we are going to there will have to be a safety inspection, just basically ingress, egress, fire, exit lights, things like that. I'm hopeful that both entities will continue to do what they needed to do to get the business license. If not, we have violation letters that we can prepare and have prepared. And I will have an update for you guys in November.
Good.
We have had a couple of other code enforcement complaints. The one on Williams Circle, the renters have been evicted. They did clean up a little bit, but it's not as clean as it could be, so we'll talk to the land property owner and see if I can get him to, it's the one right behind the big thing.
Right behind the
Yes, sir. See if I can get them to cut the grass and clean out the carport and do some of that. And since we have had so many issues with that house, I think what we're gonna do is we'll just start sending code enforcement. I mean, as soon as we get a call and a complaint about it, just send them a knock on the door. And if they don't do it within 7 to 10 days, we'll just take them to Judge Strickland.
Who owns that? Was that owned by the same company?
Yes, sir.
I thought it was.
It is. And he told me, he said, you know, I've been working with them, been going through the legal process. They're getting ready to move out. And of course, when you're getting ready to move out, you're not really too concerned about the condition of the property. So, you know, that's just kind of where he was. Now, not to say that that has not been a problem before this set of rooms. You know, this is,
Right.
but at the same time, you know, each time we go, we go back through our processes. As far as the signage code enforcement, we're still working on the letter to the businesses saying, hey, code enforcement's coming, here's some common violations, if you have any questions, let us know. I'm still working on that, and then we'll go after some of the flags and the signs and the stuff that seems to keep popping up.
Where are we on the bathroom situation real quick?
Can I get to that in the mayor's minutes? Yeah, we'll do an update. Basically, there hadn't been really any changes. I do have a proposal that I'd like to float out and just kind of check the temperature on. But I'll get to that in just a little bit here, if that would be okay.
Yeah.
Any other comments on code enforcement? Public Works Council? All right. 150th anniversary. Well, we finally have a tentative schedule for the events. Monday, December the 6th, we will have the Noonan County Historical Society will be out here. We will unveil officially our town timeline and historical presentation. We will have a council meeting the night of the 6th to take care of any procedural stuff or anything that's on the agenda to talk about for the month of December. Tuesday, it's going to be a handicraft and quilting themed day because that's when our quilters are. Wednesday, it's going to be art. We're going to have Kay Stanley in here. We're going to have the Noonan County Art Association, hopefully some artists from the high schools, and it'll culminate with an art walk through the community center, out into the park and pavilion, and then just an art day on Wednesday. Thursday is going to be dance center because that's when Miss Rachel has her dance classes. We're going to offer that as a rehearsal and or learning time for the Old Town Dance Party that will be on Saturday, because that Saturday is her standard dance. Friday is the same day of the East Coweta Noonan basketball game. So we're going to have a Friday Night Lights, which will be kind of a pre-pep rally for the EC Newton basketball game. During the day, I'd like to do a local government reception where we talk about just what we do as a town and what we've done, how we have worked with some of the educational schools in the area. Saturday is going to be the Sharpsburg Market. Hopefully have some live music in between the Sharpsburg Market and then Miss Rachel's dance party. Sunday is pretty much wide open, hoping to get some of the local churches to have either a Christmas choral medley or a sunrise service or something in that vein for Sunday. And then Monday will be the town, Monday, December 13th will be the town's 150th birthday. Literally to the day. We were incorporated December 13th of 1871. So I'm hoping to have just a ceremonial council meeting where we'll just pass a resolution acknowledging the 150th birthday. We'll have fancy and important VIPs here. We'll have a Sharpsburg buffet. You know, just a old-timey foods and a little bit of a dinner on the grounds type thing. And we'll just press the flesh and celebrate all the good things that we've done. It's been a little bit of work, but I really think the outcome is going to be tremendous for the town. I mean, we're just going to have so many good things to share with everybody. Any additional questions on the 150th?
That's in December.
I'm sorry?
That's in December.
Yes, sir. It's December 6th through the 13th.
How do you shout all this?
So
Do you
what
need us
we'll
to get involved in it?
do what now?
Do you need us to get involved in it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Anything that you want to do, we'll be more than happy
Shirt on.
to plug.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Dance class.
Uh-huh.
Cowboy boots on.
I'll start with buck dancing and all that.
Well, hey, look, we're here to be entertained.
Please
I mean,
don't.
that's.
Please don't do that.
They gotta do it.
Please don't.
But no. Yeah, we will absolutely need all hands on deck. What our plan is now is that we have the tentative schedule. I'm going to task Angie with coordinating some of the specific stuff day to day. And then you tell me what you're interested in, and I'll have her contact you or slot you into that.
Lots of stuff is in the morning, though.
Well, there's going to be some stuff that's in the morning, and then some stuff that's in the afternoon, and then
The dance party,
What are you going to do about the art? I might go tomorrow.
So for the art show, what I think we'll do is we'll have a couple hours in the morning for Miss Kay, and then the afternoon and evening session will incorporate other artists. So that would be a great time to put any art in, around, or about Sharpsburg in that section. So yeah, if you've got a couple of pieces of art that you've done here for Sharpsburg, then yeah, absolutely.
Where are you going to physically do it?
Here, in the room, yes, sir.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll throw something.
Oh, where else?
Okay, so
I've got
our new business being concluded, our old business being concluded, now we come to the public comment section.
Of course.
Ms. Polly?
Preface this by saying, I'm not opposed to booze, because I get my tequila from Peachtree City occasionally.
We'll try to keep it closer to home for you.
Now, Dollar General. When that store was open there, the town, and the only stand was on the council at that point.
Mhm.
3 exemptions were made from zoning to allow that property to be sold, the town owned it at the time, by the way,
Mhm.
to be sold to Dollar General.
Mhm.
The neighbors around it were very, very, very unhappy,
Mhm.
because you can see by the location how closely all the homes are around it.
Mhm.
They're gonna be awful upset if Dollar General starts selling liquor there. Because it's going to increase the traffic, it's going to increase the noise. For a while after that store was open, there were many complaints, they were on record by the town, people complaining about the noise and all. And I think every consideration should be given to that neighborhood before Dollar General would ever be considered. for anything more than they've got, and the improvements are good. They've done a lot in there, but the improvements are good. But I think that would be a terrible imposition on that immediate neighborhood.
Okay.
You mean as far as the exemptions for like the
The
location?
traffic will increase, the noise is going,
Yeah.
more traffic, more noise. And they were just very unhappy about it at the time.
I can see that.
And were more or less, y'all weren't there at the time,
Right.
but they were more or less ignored when there were complaints. And there were 3 exemptions from code to allow that store to be there. 3. Which also set a pretty bad precedent for future things. So I think I would consider them before I did anything like that.
And just to be clear, at this point, the conversation with Dollar General is not about liquor, it's just about beer and wine.
But it was on the agenda.
Right.
Okay, yeah, you
It was
do,
on the
okay, yeah,
agenda.
yeah, fair enough, okay.
Yeah.
It was on the
Okay.
agenda,
Yes,
and I
yes,
would
ma'am.
have mentioned it otherwise, and besides, they haven't even got the sewer stuff figured out yet.
That's my thing is, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
until they
I
get
mean-
that figured out, but yeah,
Mhm.
it's a non-conversation.
They don't need any complications either.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Oh, sure, no problem.
Of course, their recent remodel has saved me a lot of trips to Peachtree City and Sharpsburg, though.
It is a lot nicer than
It
that.
is, they got a lot more stuff.
Yeah.
Good. Polling your council, I'll start to my immediate right. Ms. Good?
Just the Dollar General
Dollar General.
bathroom situation.
So, as far as the Dollar General sewer conversation, we have provided them the concept that was presented to us by Krebs and Kelly County Water and Sewer. I followed up with them mid-part of last week, but I have not heard back.
So my question is, I understand that we presented something to them. Can they just fix what's going on? I mean, well, I just don't understand why we're coming to them saying, this is what we propose. It's their issue to fix.
According to them, they believe they have fixed the issue. And there hadn't been, I don't know that there has been another failure since then for sure. But I think there was one day that it started running slow. I don't think it's fixed. They say it's been fixed. I don't think it's been fixed, but.
It's been fixed, they've removed that portalet out front.
Yeah.
Amen.
Well, yes, well, they did, and that did fix it, but then they brought the porta potty back for the remodel,
Ugh.
which is why it's out there now. So
Well, they probably had to for code.
Code, yeah. So the porta potty out there is now because it's being renovated, or was just renovated.
You sure?
That's what I've heard the last 2 times I've gone in. Have you
If
heard?
they might have just found a little
Right.
crack they can go into, so they, let's go and get it now.
Let's renovate and put a porta potty out there.
Well, but my next question to her was, how much more renovation do you have? Because they've already got all the coolers in, that she said there's a little bit more that they got to do, then they're going to pull that Connex container out, and then they'll pull the porta potty out.
Okay.
So our solution, though, is if it doesn't work, and then they decide not to participate in the sewer that we're getting, that we may offer them, then we just decide next time it goes out, we suspend their occupational tax certificate. I mean, and we'll have to check with Brad to make sure all our forms are followed, but, I mean, I think we've already done all the prep work, and we've offered them a solution to fix it, and if it doesn't get fixed.
Even more than,
The next time, there won't be near as much runway on the decision-making. We can just come in and say, you know, there's still a problem,
Yeah.
you're closed down until it's fixed.
The proposal you've made to them, is it, how's that proposal structured? I mean, you're not telling them that if you say yes and we'll put in a $900,000 system, you pay $150,000.
No, it was for the cost of the line plus the portion of the pump station. So no, it would be both sections of it, the pump station and a percentage of the pump station and 100% of their line that connects their building to the pump station.
Which leaves the A and B section
Mhm.
and a portion of the pump station?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
How much of the pump station would
A third. 219,000.
they pay? And A and B would pay the other third?
Mm-hmm.
How are we gonna pay for the other third?
We can either do it through Coweta County. Well, actually, if it's just a third of it, we pay for that in cash. I don't know that I would recommend it with some of the other things that we have coming out, or we could go out and get just a very small Jeep alone. I mean, $200,000 is, I mean, it almost, I don't, even just doing the paperwork that's a very small amount to go
I
out
think
there
the
and get.
people in this town run you out here on a rail. If you spend $200,000 on a system that nobody else can use but Dollar General and A&B, because if you put it where that proposal was, nobody else can use it, unless you develop the tank lot.
Well, yes, no, and that is part of the figure as well.
Right.
And if they're gonna run me out for providing an option for sewer and an actual viable option, you know, and I can't help that, you know, that this is a part of a solution to the septic issue that we have up there.
Well, I'll tell you what, you know, encumber ourselves for $250,000 for a system that nobody else can use but them. They pay a third, other people pay a third, we pay a third. Is it worth this town paying $250,000 to solve Dollar General's problem?
Oh, absolutely. When it opens up the development for that entire structure, I would say absolutely. Because,
How?
The development of that structure, you mean just like put lettuce in there?
no. If we build a pump station, that pump station would service that into all 4 of those lots, from 54, from McIntosh up to Dollar General.
I think what Tom's saying is what is the benefit to us for putting out the money?
There is no benefit.
Right, what are we
Except
gonna
for-
get in return except for
You got
a couple of places to go buy, I mean,
You'll have 4 lots, potentially 4 lots, they can develop
Mhm.
for $250,000.
When the entire system's $985, I think that's a great deal for the citizens.
it'll be 2 liquor stores.
One there and one up here.
Well, it doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
Not when you can take, you know, not when you can look at putting a lift station in the general area of that 12 parts manhole. You could put it in a position where you could tie in the rest of the 54 corner.
Oh, yeah, and that is absolutely,
But you can't tie the rest of the 54 corner in to a lift station put behind that tank line.
No, you wouldn't, no, you would not run, you're correct, you would not run the pump station up there to do the South 54. No, that pump station is just to serve that northwest quadrant of the intersection.
Yeah, but then you're gonna have another $600,000 for a second lift station?
You're gonna need that anyway, because you're gonna need that anyway. Because the low point on the other side is over there at, Staley and Brown's and, Shoemake's land.
You got an engineer look at that second location?
Mm-hmm. Because that was the original spot when we were looking at the pump station for the downtown area. That was going to be one of the options, was that second low spot over there behind the post office.
Well, if you look at the topo maps, you can get to that second location from the 54 north of McIntosh.
Mm-hmm.
Without, you can run it down, across, down into the Staley property, like a left turn, and not do it behind the tank, the tank lines.
Right.
And that way you only have one for 600,000 that'll service 45 people as opposed to one behind the tank farm or tank lot that'll service.
But the problem is nobody out of those 45 lots has an immediate need for sewer like Dollar General does. Dollar General has an immediate need for the sewer. And the other 45 lots, so we're looking at putting a line in the place where there is a need, an identified need, where we're getting ready to shut down a business if they don't improve, versus 45 lots that might eventually go towards sewer. At least with Dollar General, we have parties that are interested in contributing with us on this.
Yeah, but the second location and the longer lines, would open up the entire town for $1.25 million versus 4 vacant lots and 1 business for 900.
Agreed. I 100% agree with that, but at the same time, those 4 lots that you're talking about We have had someone offer to buy the tank property and develop it. We've got Dollar General that needs it. We've got another lot that's available for almost $2 million at the corner of 54 McIntosh with no sewer service. We have more demand on
It's never
those
gonna sell.
4 lots. Yeah, probably. But we have more demand and more potential on those 4 lots than we do with the other 45 smaller lots that are behind it. Not saying that that's not a viable option, because it is, and it should be. It should be a phase 2.
You got the same potential demand from the Thompson Lewis area down there, and all those lots, but past the cemetery.
It's all, this whole town is potential development. I mean, if we look at it that way, everything is potential development. Is it ever gonna happen? Who knows? But my question is, has Dollar General ever come to us and said, we need this sewer? Because I don't think it makes any sense. I don't think they're gonna do that.
In our initial discussions, they were open to the idea of connecting to permanently solve the problem, because I think they
I'm sure,
recognize.
because they would love for us to pay for it and them to connect to it.
Well, see, no, but and if we do that, then, I mean, we can build it and then connect, but I'm hoping by bringing them in earlier, they will take a lower price to help us get this off the ground. Now, if we wanted to go out and borrow the $985,000 to put this in, we could, but then we would end up charging them $200 on capacity plus whatever tap fees it is.
I just don't think they're gonna do that. I mean,
And they may not.
why would they do that if they can go out and spend a couple $100 on a pump and get their septic system working, and when it's not working, they can haul in a porta potty and we never do anything about it? You know?
So the soil conditions there will probably, a pump will fix. The other part of it is because we've gone through this process, if they don't correct it and don't fix it, and they don't collect, then we do have a response, and we take away their occupational tax certificate. And that becomes the incentive for them to do it.
Yeah.
And Tom, I agree with you 100%. I do want to have access to those lots at the southeast corner of 54 McIntosh.
And all the ones north of 54, I mean, all the ones west of 54?
Correct.
All the way out to BP station?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. But we don't have anybody else asking for it down there.
You put a sewer line down through there and.
People will line up.
Most people will line up.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
But do we want that? I mean,
well, will council let me go after a loan or grant to put that line in? Because if that's what you guys want to do, we can. I can certainly start to process that. But the reason we wanted to go with Dollar General is we had people that would chip in and people that would get stuff started. And then that makes going after the phase 2 loans that much easier.
Well, look, if you can convince Dollar General to do what you're talking about, and you can convince AB to do what you're talking about, incorporate that willingness into the bigger picture.
Yeah, no, yes,
The whole
yes.
town and not just 4 silly little lots.
But we got to start somewhere, Tom.
Start somewhere good, God, you're only talking about a half a mile.
I know, Tom, but that half a mile is $1 million. If council would give me authorization to go out and get a $2.5 million loan to start this, I'll do it. That's absolutely doable. But the problem is I wanted to do the smaller portion first to get it started because we had partners that were there, partners that were interested, and partners that could contribute money. If we do the South 54 like you're describing, we got to come up with 1.5 million. We can do that, but I would like to bring in partners that may have money and might be willing to contribute money to kickstart this, and then go after the larger portions. I mean, we can. Yes, ma'am.
If they want it that bad, let them pay for the whole thing.
I like that.
No, I would like that too, but
Well, that's what I'm saying. Have they come to us and said, this is what we need and we're offering to pay for it? Or are we just going to them saying,
I don't know.
here's the solution to your problem, just chip in this small amount?
Yes, yes, yes. That is where we are. We have gone and said, this is the solution to the problem. This would be your portion of it. And if they would be willing to pay for the whole thing, absolutely I'd take it on. But why would Dollar General want to buy the town of Sharpsburg a sewer system? They want to solve their problem.
Why about them one?
Yeah.
Because we're going to be making money off of it. We're going to be charging revenue from it. I mean, it's not going to be a free service after it gets installed.
You aren't going to find anybody that can pay per month for 20, 30, and 30 years what that thing's going to cost if you've only got 4 people paying into it. And that's 4 people, that's counting 3 lots that are bushes.
If all of the individuals come through with their portion of it, a third of it, then the system is paid for and in the ground, and then then we will have, if there's a portion of ours, we will pay towards that. But once they pay theirs in, then we're getting the monthly service revenue off of it. And then it's already in the ground.
Yeah, but you spread
Maintenance.
300, and let's see, even if you get A and B to do the same thing you're talking about getting Dollar General to do, okay? You're left with $250,000, okay? And
$250,000, how are we left with $250,000?
because you've got a third of the pump station that you can't do anything with. You've got a third of the pump station
Mhm.
taken care of by Dollar General,
Mhm.
a third by A and B,
Mhm.
and a third we're left holding.
Yes.
Right?
Well, either
How are you gonna cover that? How are you gonna cover that on a monthly basis? You got nobody to sell it to. You got nobody to sell it to.
we're not selling the pump station. That's just the cost of the hardware for the pump station. I mean, that's,
You gotta recover the cost. You gotta recover the cost of it by selling the service.
He said, is that what you're talking about, getting a small loan?
mhm,
Yeah, but you
mhm.
gotta pay the loan.
Yeah,
You gotta pay
and
the
yes, and we'll do that off of either tap fees for the other entity, for the other tap fees, or the monthly, the service charges, the monthly revenue.
loan for 4 people.
Yes. Well, no. No, because there's 4 landowners right now. That's not telling how many taps or how many users are gonna be on there. Just because there's 4. That area could fit up to 18 businesses, so it could be up to 18 just on the north, not counting Dollar General. And this also doesn't count the other stuff that's across the street from it that may get redeveloped if we have sewer on that corridor. What if we got either the 2 corners redeveloped, where the gas stations are, and in between Williams Circle? If those are redeveloped, those can tap onto the pump station as well.
Yeah, you got additional cost of probably another $200,000, just to get them across the street, collecting across the street.
Mhm.
So that standalone, they're gonna have to pump up a lot of money, and you're still not recovering what you.
But it's still less than the 1.5 million that you're suggesting we do for the second portion of it. And we got people, and theoretically, we got partners that are at the table willing to pay. That's why I want to go after the north line first, because we have people that need it and people that have the pockets that can do it. Now, I'm not opposed to doing the southern portion, and we can jump to do the southern portion, but if we do that, we got to come with all the money to the table. If we do the southern portion. If we do the north portion of the line, then we're just doing a percentage of it. And that's the reason that I think it's a better opportunity to work with the other partners than us just going out and getting the loan and carrying the note and hoping somebody's eventually going to attach to it.
Well, I think it would be better to do that, to go and put a system in where people might eventually attach to it, than create a system that's going to cost you $500,000 less that only 4 people can attach to.
That only 4 people that we're currently talking to. Not only 4 people can attach to it, a lot more can attach to it. We're just talking to 4 right now.
Well, you can't, the math doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't.
I mean, you take a number and divide it by 4 or 3 or whatever, and I mean, do what now?
I'm laughing.
Okay. I mean, I see what you're saying, and I know that there's a lot of uncertainty, but we've got an area that needs the service. We've got people that could contribute to it, and I'd like to chase that lead down as we are looking and having those broader discussions, because you're right. If we can put a line in that area and that spurs the southwest corner to develop.
The entire 54 corner except Dollar General. I mean, it would mean the entire 54 corner, not just the south part, the entire thing. And you would take care of the 2 guys that are hot to go in the process. And you do it, yes.
Well, we would still need a pump station if we develop a tank lot. If we surplus and sell the tank lot and it's developed, we're gonna need that pump station.
Yeah, you're gonna.
But it can't pump up to the 54?
No,
It is.
Or to the-
you'll gravity feed down to the pump station.
Right.
And he's talking about putting it behind behind that lot, behind that tank lot, what I'm proposing is stick it over to the stadium's property, which is equally low, if not lower,
Right.
and then lift it over to 12 Parks manhole. And in the process of doing it, you have one lift station and you have collection systems that are gravity fed down to it that include the whole town,
More opportunity.
potentially Main Street. And you're talking about potentially developing the whole town with sewer. And I tell you what, I believe with the growth that's going around here, you know, it's not a matter of having just one or two little nibbles. You get sewer in here, you're gonna have people chomping.
And just to be clear, if you want to put that system in, we can go out and we can design it and we can go borrow the money and we can do it. GFA, I mean, 0.75 interest, it's just a teeny interest rate. I mean, we can do that. But it's going to require us coming up with one, or not coming up with, but guaranteeing $1.5 to $2 million for a loan, whereas we maybe could get into another line for as low as 219. I mean, we can do it like that if you want to, but we would have to, we would be.
Well, I tell you what, we need to have the engineering crowd look at the feasibility of doing the whole damn thing.
Yep.
And not just a little piece, because, like I said, there's nothing I've heard tonight that even remotely addresses the fact that you've got about a third of that lift station that you're not going to pay for. Because you're not going to be able to charge A&M for their portion of that lift station and their portion of that line, and then turn around and charge them again by tap fees to cover it again, because that's a huge amount of money. A tap fee should be $1,500, $2,000, not $30,000. I mean, that's what you're talking about.
Well, what I'm talking about in their case specifically is they would pay to have the sewer service provided to their lots, to the areas that they control. When they sell or redevelop that, then the developer's going to come in and put out parcels or a strip center or whatever, and then we will get the tap fees from those individuals when they tap into our system.
Yeah,
That.
Yeah, but you got to do the math in the tap fee. You're not going to have a developer that's going to give you $250,000.
No, and that's not. We're not asking for that.
That's what you're going to.
Well, I'm sorry. Let me back up. We are asking that for the.
Let me just cut back to what I was saying.
Okay.
Let's get an engineer to look at the full capability, because then we know what we're talking about. Because if it's not feasible to put one of those stations over by stadiums, then it changes things. You may have, there's another angle to this, and that is you could put a line down Main Street, and you could provide sewage for these buildings up here and the vacant lots on Main Street. Okay, and some other ones down Tarrentine. So, if you've got the lift station positioned properly east of town, south of 154, you open up the whole town. And not just Dollar General and 3 vacant lots.
Yep. And once again, we can do that, but it's going to be an outlay of $1.5 to $2 million to do that, all at once, with the town paying 100% of it. The other method would lower our percentage that we would invest in it. And I am still waiting on a response from the engineer in water and sewer, so we can have that broader discussion.
We talked about doing that.
Yes.
Yeah, I asked you if I wouldn't be involved in what we were
Yes.
talking.
Yes, yeah, and you will be. That's the callback that I'm waiting on.
How binding is the offer you've made to Dollar General and AB?
I mean, it's a verbal offer. It's not binding at all.
To see if they're interested.
Yes, sir. And that's really what I was doing, was I was having a conversation to see if they say, yes, this is something we can do, and then we would bring in legal and finance and all that. Okay. So, did your polling, anything else, Tom, for your polling your council?
No.
Cynthia, anything? All right, Floyd, clerk's minutes.
Yes, so the American Plan Rescue Act, we have funds that are going to be coming available. To that end, Gina is offering some classes, webinar, and they're actually having a class that's going to be held on Wednesday to give guidance on that. So just letting you know, we're going to be working on that, getting it going. To that end as well, on Wednesday, staff has been invited to go to the Noonan Performing Arts Center from 11 to 1. Gina is going to be hosting their event over there. Part of that will include discussions on ARPA funding, And also, it will also include key city issues that'll be raised in the 2022 General Assembly. Staff has been invited, so for a short while on Wednesday, we're going to close the town hall so that we can go there and see what is coming up. There'll be notices on the door and so on. Also, just a reminder that Election Day is November 2nd. That's going to happen before we meet again. And our next meeting here as council will be on November the 8th.
Because community center will be closed on November the 1st for the election materials.
Hey, that was not less with the vending machine.
All right, anything else, Mr. Jones?
No, sir, I'm good.
All right, thank you. Quick budget update before we get into the mayor's updates. As of September 30th or 31st, whichever the last day was, we have received 90% of our budget for the year, but we have only paid out 66% of our budget. And we have received 105% of our SPLOST estimate for 2019. I'll pass this on down if you guys want to take a look at anything. As normal, Dina and staff have done an excellent job working on the budget and with the numbers. And she'll be in our conversations with Floyd and I as we are working on 2022's budget. The two things for the mayor's minutes that I wanted to share with you guys. The first thing is I have actually finally listed out and put down on paper most of the projects that I have touched in the last year. And if there's anything that you guys see that y'all want to help with or are interested in, by all means, just let me know and I'll update you and turn you loose. This is literally just about everything. So
I think we should get Angie to head up the coordination of the decorating.
Yeah.
She'd be great with that.
Yeah, I do too.
Make it, maybe we could do like hot chocolate or something like that.
And honestly, I'd like to maybe the day after Thanksgiving, that Friday and Saturday, have a town decorating day or time period to where we say we're going to get together at 9 o'clock in the morning and we'll go for a handful of hours and decorate as much as we can.
Yeah, we could get the brackets off some of these telephone poles and position them so that we could get some visibility on Christmas decorations.
Yep.
Because as you and I learned the hard way, the other ones are stuck in the cherry trees.
Yes, they are.
There are brackets all up and down Tarrentine that we can position. Brackets to have to stick the poles in to hang the little flag off.
Your little decoration.
We've got plenty of flags to do that, but we only were able to do it to some
Just a handful of
a
places.
handful of places, and they were all behind cherry trees, you couldn't see the flags.
Yep.
Okay.
So we have, so basically, here's my project list. So do y'all just look it over, and if there's anything that strikes your fancy, some of the big things that we do need to kind of hop on quick are going to be the reuses for the Beckham House. One of the things that I would like to consider from a public works person is to do a refresh of the interior and exterior of the municipal complex. I think it may be time to update some of the looks of either the inside or the outside. And if we can get some designs or some ideas or something, we can begin pursuing that. Downtown parking is going to be something we probably need to look at. And then signage. I'd love to do some signage both at the gateways and then pointing to downtown. I've got permission to put a Main Street, Sharpsburg, at Main Street and 16, across 16, pointing up here. And then I feel like I can probably get something on that on the 54 side of Main Street to angle towards Main Street and downtown. So, yeah. The other thing that I wanted to bring up to you guys in our mayor's minutes is as we're talking about the downtown septic and or the downtown bathrooms, what if we bought a restroom trailer and
Dear Lord.
made it available
Kill me.
and
You're gonna
rented it
kill
out
me.
to businesses?
What?
What if we bought a movie set restroom trailer and rented it out to businesses?
Ugh.
I know.
Let's put it in the tank. Wow.
Let's put it right in front of these restrooms.
No. It would be rented to the businesses that are up here, and it would go somewhere up here.
Well, I'd need to see the dollar per flush figures.
I'm thinking about $150 a month. I mean, we need bathrooms up there.
Got some bathrooms.
Let me sleep on that, because that's almost like dressing up a pig.
No, I agree. I agree.
Can we
But whether
really
there are
tell, can we
options.
really tell Dollar General not to have a porta potty and then we got a porta potty?
Yep.
That's all right.
Oh, no, I agree with you. I agree with you. But we're running into some code issues with the bathrooms. I mean, yeah, you cannot, so in conversations with Paul and Brad, we have a number of conflicting laws. And one of the things that we found out recently is you cannot use one lot to bring another one into compliance. So we can't use a bathroom on one parcel to bring two parcels down into compliance. That is the problem. So we as council either need to allow them to open without bathrooms, come up with some method by which they use these bathrooms down here, or stick to the 3 or 4 options that we've already provided that haven't been touched in 10 years. Now, if council wants to open up the exterior restrooms down here, that's fine, but, you know, we need to have a contingency plan for vandalism or cleaning or whatever, and if that ends up being a fee charge to the individuals up there, then I don't know that it needs to come down to a per flush.
Well, just open it up and charge them the same way you're gonna charge with the party fighter.
Yeah, I don't.
That way we won't look like a party.
The only problem with that is with the restrooms being located down here, it's outside of the ADA compliance zone for how close it is to the business. Yeah, so even that's not as easy an issue.
So, I've got a question. Remember in Sonoy, before they built everything, how at one side of the street there was only one bathroom that all the shops shared? So you're saying that there can't be a designated restroom up there for all those buildings?
There can be, but we cannot require them to have it. The landlord can put in whatever he wants to at any time he wants to, but we can't require them to do it as a condition of,
Opening or
yes.
operating, okay.
Yeah, no, he can, at any point he wants to do this, he can, absolutely.
Yeah.
And in fact, if he wanted to do that, council may even approve connecting, from here up to here. But.
Can I ask a question? What are you trying to accomplish?
I'll get these buildings open, but do it legally and to health and building codes.
Do you know, at one time, the library had a back door to the bathroom?
Yes.
And it was closed?
Yes.
You could reopen it. It's already there.
That back closet was the bathroom.
Is there a toilet in there still?
There's a hole.
We have to build a ramp to make it ADA compliant.
Do you think, would it be easier using these?
What's that again?
Would it be easier to use these than,
Well, these are nice, huh?
Well, it
And
might
he said the handicap thing was an issue, but how is it an issue there and it's not an issue everywhere?
right,
Or it might be an issue with distance from Joe's buildings, or some of Joe's buildings down to here.
But wouldn't it be the same I mean, I don't know.
If that's an issue.
Obviously not the antique store and, you know, that's closed, but across here, I don't know.
Don't Joe own the building right here?
Mhm.
Doesn't have a bathroom?
Yes,
The
it does.
the old post office?
Mhm. And that's another option that's available to the property owner.
I mean, he can, why don't we just open it up for the store?
They're choosing not to.
Well. Okay, okay.
Yeah, they don't want it to be open, I mean,
And you're talking about getting one of these theater.
oh dear Lord.
It's an option.
Oh, I know,
Like a
they're
camper?
It's a real nice,
Mhm.
Camper looking?
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yep.
it's real nice. It's like 4 or 5 airplane toilets on a trailer.
Mhm.
And there's
Wait a minute, have you been in an airplane toilet lately?
No, I
Yeah.
Does it come with like hand washing?
Mhm.
It's got,
Yeah.
it's got something.
Don't those things, they have to be like powered constantly?
Mhm.
They do?
Yeah.
So so you're run a generator out
No,
there?
no, I don't know. I hadn't gone that far down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking of solutions. I mean, I keep,
I just don't think that's a long-term.
It would physically work, it would physically work until you got Joe willing to pay for it, and you got the folks living over there on Stovall that when I see a horrible toilet in their front yard, and
I don't know,
it
yeah,
looks like hell when you ride by.
I agree. Like I said, all I'm trying to do is find additional options that we have not already presented.
Yeah.
Yeah, that library bathroom, that's,
Well, now keep in mind, the original complaint was that those buildings didn't have bathrooms. It wasn't that there wasn't one around, because there was one around, but the original complaint was that those buildings did not have bathrooms, and that was against code. And
Well, now ever since COVID, you go to stores and they won't even let you use their restroom because it's not sanitary, so what if they just say we don't have restrooms?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I've been in a ton of buildings lately that said no public restroom,
Yeah.
and you know their employees go to the bathroom during the day.
Yeah,
So what about that, Brad? I mean, does that, I mean, I see where you're coming from, and I know what you're saying, public access to it.
Well, and of course, we're talking two different things. What's required and what can we make them do?
right.
That sort of thing. And of course, I go back to what I was told is that as long as there's a restroom facility within, what was it, 500 feet
Mhm.
that's open,
Yeah.
then they don't have to have those size buildings.
Right.
Now, you get into the larger buildings
Right,
and there are other requirements.
right.
And that has been a position of the town from the beginning. If you have a common area within 500 feet, that's an option, that's an allowable option. They're choosing not to take that option.
Well, then, of course, there's a, going on here, there is a restroom facility within 500 feet. All right, they just don't want to put in one,
Right, well,
and so that creates the problem.
I mean,
And I thought at one point, is there an operational restroom over there at all?
Mhm. There's two. Actually, I think there's three. There's one in the brick
White
building.
building? Oh,
There's one and there's two in the post office behind us.
okay. So as long
I
as,
don't know what white.
I mean, theoretically, as long as there's an agreement to share those restrooms
right, between the
for the, then
Mhm.
they
Yes,
don't.
yeah, and that's what Rusty and Tony are doing. The YouTubers aren't doing anything, right, well, I mean, they haven't signed any agreements. The church has their bathrooms, and I don't know what Tony's doing about a bathroom yet either. Tony Brown, he's using the fertilizer warehouse.
Who's the other name?
The YouTubers. In the old boutique, there is a YouTube production facility, basically, and they're filming YouTube videos in there.
So we got a restroom down here that's within 500 feet. They've got access to 4 of them.
Mhm.
Are we chasing our tail? I mean, is there a problem?
Yeah. Yes, it's just that they're not taking advantage of any of the opportunities that we've offered for them to come
Does
to
Joe say, yes, we'll walk down the street to your bathroom? Okay, when it's open, he can use it if he wants to, if he doesn't, he doesn't?
No, council will need to make the decision to make those available. That's not something that we as a group haven't come to a conclusion on. We keep batting it around. And if council wants to make the exterior restrooms available, then that's the council decision.
If we did that, what would be, other than just general fix-up, what would Joe need to do to operate to open up those 5 doors?
Get an inspection by safe building to make sure that it's safe. Nothing, just,
So the bathroom is pretty fun.
So what if,
If we agree to let him use it.
so what if instead of having it unlocked and open the whole time, what if they have a key and if somebody needs to use the restroom, they take the key, lock it back, and, whoever's working makes sure it's locked up? I mean,
and that is we can do that, but that's the decision that will come from council.
Right, I like that.
I think that's fair.
And then we can hold
That's a lot.
them with the keys responsible.
Mhm.
Right, and before you leave, you make sure everything's locked up.
And so if we do that, we're gonna have to make sure that we decide cleanliness, vandalism, responsibility, things like that. And then as long as all that is outlined, I'm fine with it. I just.
You can't take pictures of the south, you can take pictures of who goes in.
Correct.
So you got at least a leg up on the vandalism.
Yep.
And if it's a matter of them, letting people into it or out of it, or letting people into it, during the day,
Mhm.
then you don't have to worry about people in there at night tearing it up.
Mhm.
So it's manageable, I would think.
Mhm. Yeah, it could be. That is one option that's available to us.
What's the downside of that, other than the fact that somebody has to go in there and clean it?
Just general liability. Maintenance and liability, I would imagine.
Like tissue supply, who would be responsible for that?
See?
Could that be a part of their agreement if they're gonna
Yeah.
use it? They keep it clean and supply it?
That'd be a minimal.
It's their fee.
we can, but if it comes down to a conflict between renter 1 and renter 2, we're gonna need some kind of method to,
I mean, SARS.
as someone says, someone else's client messed it up.
And that's gonna happen.
Mhm.
I've seen some pretty rough things in places.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that's the downside to solving the sewer problem for downtown. Huh?
You said you've seen rough things at Publix.
I have.
Well, anybody damaged the building, everybody just be held responsible. Then they'll watch who they get a key to.
Okay.
Cause
Yeah, you got-
I'm gonna be responsible for somebody coming in and don't look right. I'm not gonna give the keys to these young kids or something always.
Or, they can
They're
tell,
responsible.
they can say we don't have any public restrooms,
Oh,
but
got it.
just let the employees.
Well, you could set up some mechanism where you take pictures of who's going in.
Well, there you go.
Don't we have a camera out there?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
You got one.
You made a key point. Does it have to be a public restroom or just could be a restroom for the employee? Which one does it have to be?
Brad, does it have to be a publicly available restroom, or does it just have to be a restroom for employees? What's the dividing line for that?
That's a great question.
Well, again, that gets into the size
Right.
of the facility.
They don't have to have it, that's like most gas stations or places like he was saying.
Yeah.
They won't let you use the restroom anymore.
Right.
Mhm.
So we just make it available to the
The employees,
employees.
so it would be,
Yeah.
and then they can be responsible for the employees.
And I guess if the use of the building is buildings is, the impediment is no restroom facilities, then that makes sense. Now, of course, if a restaurant went in, that's a whole different,
Right.
a whole
Right.
different animal,
Totally different.
But for the current use and the current buildings we have up there.
from the retail standpoint.
The retail standpoint.
Mhm. Retail office standpoint.
Okay. 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 Any other thoughts? All right, so let's, so work session. Do y'all want to try to do a work session in October, or y'all want to?
Just had one.
Can we just call it a work session?
No, because you can't vote on stuff in the work session. I tell you, what, so how do y'all, well, I don't know, Floyd, what do you want to do? Do you want to try to do the work session now, or you want to look at schedule and call folks?
Let's just look at schedule.
And call folks,
Mhm.
okay.
We'll do that.
Okay, so Floyd will reach out to you guys with a couple of dates, and then we'll figure out which ones work. Sorting out something here is going to be the hardest to shift.
I mean, I'm pretty flexible if it's like in advance,
Okay.
you know, like a couple weeks in advance.
Okay. All right, so there being no executive session and no other business before council, if I can get a motion to adjourn.
Hallelujah, got a motion.
Cynthia has the first,
Second.
Elizabeth has the second, all in favor?
Y'all be messing with my
Opposed?
last.
I'm done. Motion to adjourn, or meeting adjourned, thank you.